Adam, we on the air?
You're on.
Thank you. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of December 16th, 2019. The meeting's already been called to order. We had a meeting with our council and had a couple of non-public issues, personnel issues that we discussed prior to this. First on the agenda, under our scheduled appointments, is Paul.
So if you don't like me anymore, you don't text me, you don't call.
Just for the important stuff like the signs. Yeah.
Okay, what do you got?
So the things that are in highlighted and, bolded and italicized and underlined are the things I wanted to talk about. Basically the fees for the upcoming summer. Basically the fees for the upcoming summer. So the fees that are there now are the ones for the previous summer. This past 2019.
Okay, this isn't what you're proposing, that's
just
our current?
That's the current, yeah.
Okay, and what are you proposing on?
Well, we're gonna add in ice cream, which is about $4 a week, so that parents really liked having everything paid for in one lump sum instead of having to pay for the field trip one day and ice cream the next day and pizza the next day, so it's all rolled into one. So I would say at least $5 more, or 4 or 5. But I don't know if we wanted to. We've gone up more than that in the past. I don't know if we want to do more than that or not.
Yep. So we went up last year, yes?
A little bit, yeah.
Would we go from what to what?
For Kingston residents, I believe we went from 110. Well, it's hard because we rolled in the field trips and we rolled in the pizza, so it's hard to compare. But I would say it was about 110. But that
And the field trips were how much?
they average between 15 and 20, so we put in 20 just to make sure we cover things.
So then we really didn't go up, right?
I think we went up $5 or $10 a week for each. But if I remember correctly, so I think it was 105. We went to 110 or 115, and then yeah, it would, not a lot. We've tried to keep it low to make it reasonable, especially for the Kingston residents. So I would say at least 130 and 160. But I don't know if we want to do more than that, or we did pretty well this past summer. I think we cleared about 3,000 from what we.
Are you anticipating increases for all the staffing?
Yep. So it depends how many people come back. So if they come back, they get 50 cents an hour raise to encourage them to come back. Otherwise, and it starts at $10 an hour. We talked about that last year. And we've also moved to the revolving fund so that when I'd met with the budget committee yesterday, they were not aware of that and didn't really understand my budget, because my budget went down 75%, but it didn't really go down. It was
right.
So they seem to understand that now. So
okay, so you're currently at 125, right?
Correct, for Kingston.
For
yeah.
Kingston residents.
Yeah.
Your additional expense by including what's the new ice cream and
yeah.
pizza?
No, pizza was already in there. So I would say at least 5 more to cover the ice cream.
Okay. And then you're anticipating increases for your personnel?
So far I've heard back from, everybody I've heard back from is coming back, and that's 5 people. So that's about half the staff, which is good. We want them to come back, and decreases training and increases continuity and consistency.
And so what are you proposing to go to?
like I said, at least 130, I was thinking maybe another 135.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
No, I don't.
And then the daily rate,
I mean, it's really just covering our additional costs.
right, just keep it, yeah. And then the daily rate, I think it'd stay the same because it's still, the weekly rate is still a bargain over the daily rate. So if you did 5 times 30 for 150, you're still, I don't think you need to change the daily rate because I think that's pretty,
Well, how do you do that when, let's say somebody comes every Thursday, what do you do?
and they have to pay for the field trip on top of the daily rate.
They do, it's
Yeah.
not included.
No, only the weekly, it's only included in the weekly. The,
Okay. So if they come on the field it's field trip day, it's $50?
okay. Yeah.
So what's the deal on the 10%?
That's been there for a while, so they get, for Kingston residents only, they get 10% off whatever they pay before June 1st, and that's just to encourage people to sign up, so that I know I can anticipate numbers and prepare, but that's been there, well, it's been in different forms. When my son first went there, it was if you paid for all 8 weeks, you got 1 week free. So, but this, I think it's been this way as long as I've been there, so 5 years.
What percentage, so is that paid for the whole summer?
Right, that whatever they pay, right. So if they're gonna pay, they're gonna be there for 8 weeks, but they pay for 2, they only get the 10% off the 2 that they pay for. They don't get, it's not going into the future.
And then on the non-resident, it would be 165.
Yeah. But in that case, the 35 times 5 is 165, so it's kind of the same. So I would think the daily rate should go up to 40 for, because usually the weekly is a little bit of a bargain for. And then I kept the 50% discount for second and third campers for Kingston residents for the same family, and we had done 25% for the second and third camper from the same family for non-residents. So, but they get that second kid gets 25% off if you're not a Kingston resident, and 50% off if you're a Kingston resident. But just to make it so it's not overwhelming for the family.
Okay.
Give a preference to Kingston residents.
Oh, yeah.
It says first come, first served.
Kingston residents always get first. Yeah, I save spots for them, and I'm always finding a way to get them in if they want to come. They also get to register first. So when I send it out the first time, they get about 10 days to register before it's opened up to non-residents.
So like on the pizza and the drink, you do that now, right?
Yep, just the ice cream is more.
Okay, so both those things, that it's just delivered, they have it there at the camp?
We go get it, and it's a line item that I give to
So I
somebody.
mean, the kids don't go, right?
Oh, no, it
It's
comes to camp, yeah,
it's
sorry,
everything.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, the parents really like having it all in one, instead of, there's $5 today and $10, you know, that stuff. I think it's just streamlines things pretty well.
Okay.
And my only other question is about the late fee policy. The late fee policy right now is $1 a minute that you're after 5 o'clock. And the problem I have is that all the counselors pretty much work, well, they're all scheduled to work 40 hours, so I can't pay them overtime for if people are staying late. And I don't know if that fee, I've heard from different people about some different ideas for the late fee policy, but you know, if somebody's 5 minutes late, $5 isn't a big deal to them. You know, it's not a big deal for, you know, the counselors or whatever, but it can be a long day. and people come in late, we would like to discourage them. So I don't know if we want to keep it at that, or if you guys had suggestions or thoughts, or
I mean, how much of a problem and how effective do you find it to be?
Quite honestly, I find like a 18 or 19-year-old counselor having a hard time telling a 40-year-old person that they're late and they owe them $5, and to, so if I'm not there, if like my assistant director's there who's younger than me, then I think they have a hard time saying that, and they'll say that to me. I just, and they'll come in, I'm sorry, I'm late, there was traffic, there was this, there was that. I wouldn't say it's a rampant problem by any means, and we could probably keep it as the way it is, because it's not a huge problem, and I'm happy to talk to any parent and that's what usually happens, is I talk to them the next day and say, you really need to be on time. And people, so it hasn't been a big problem, it's just something I thought would be worth talking about. If you guys had any thoughts about it, but we can keep it the same.
Well, I mean, it may be a deterrent by having it, even though those people, so the people know the importance of it, being there on time, not wasting the council's time and your time. And
the big deterrent is if it's a recurring thing that they may not be able to have, we could talk about the kid not coming again. It's just, like I said, by 5 o'clock, especially on those hot days, they're ready to go home and sitting there, and you feel bad for the kid that's waiting, and but that was the only things I had. Thing coming through.
What's that, woodpecker? You got any questions, concerns for?
No, I guess we just need to monitor the late policy if it becomes an issue. But I think if someone's a habitual offender,
it's pretty easy to address.
Maybe, was that included in the policy that you developed last year? Yeah,
it's been there for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not new. I just thought it was worth bringing up and see if, other than that, so I'm going to send out, we'll be going Camp Doc, and they register online, and all this information will be available to them, and all the forms and everything. So nothing else is really changing too much. So.
Is everybody comfortable with those rates?
Yes. Thank you for getting it done early.
Yeah, no, I like to start early. Other camps start early, so.
Anything else for us?
That's it.
Okay, thanks for coming in.
Sure. Well, see you guys.
See you.
Have a good night. Okay, we're at the segment where we open it up for for public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board, we extend 3 minutes. Yes, no? Hearing none? Okay, we'll move on to old business, a review of the Kingston Government Channel Policy Application Form. We got a request, right?
Yes.
Within the file?
They're here for, I believe, it should be in that yellow, orange folder.
We did have one, well, I'm gonna open it up to the board for discussion. I didn't review the tapes. Some members of the board had reviewed the tapes. Is there provision in there or a solicitation for people to join your organization?
Not sure. Well, I watched at the end, it's got, you can join for $20 per membership, so. Yeah, and that part I think we would not want in there.
Well, we'll leave it, at least have it open for discussion. Apparently at the end, it's a solicitation that if you'd like to join the Newton Taxpayer Association, right? You can for the fee of $20. Is that something we want
to? I just talked it over with the guy, Jay Summers from Comcast. And he said, well, one thing, you don't want any infomercials, you don't want anybody soliciting any funds. And I said, well, this has got a membership fee, do you think that's a problem? And he said it could be, so that's why I brought it up.
We publish articles in the parish now, that's all that's in there. We can just put our webpage on there.
Yeah.
It's on the billboard. The link is to it.
Okay.
There's nothing different than on the roof. So,
Okay, so that might be something we wanna look at and get everything.
we haven't had an avalanche of people joining.
No, that's not the concern. The concern is the channel being used for a solicitation, okay?
It certainly isn't the primary.
I recognize that, but people who, it's just one more thing that, you know, we hear from constituents on why are we.
If you took the dollar out and just said, if you wanna contact us, here's how, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah, or, I mean, certainly if any questions or comment, please contact us at such and such. There you go.
You should probably be at a mic. What's that? You should probably be at a mic.
Yeah, if we're having a dialogue, we really should. I mean, I can hear you fine, but the people at home probably can't.
Okay.
Just, can you give us your name and address for the
Yeah,
record?
it's Jim Baker, Newton, New Hampshire.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, whatever's on there has been running that way on the billboard, on the, your bulletin board, since you approved
Well,
it
the
last year.
bulletin board, isn't that a link though?
It's just a screen that comes up like the others. with
And then
the
they have to
information.
click on it to watch the video, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they can actually click on it, but it leads them to that link if they want
Yeah.
to look it up.
Okay,
I think that's probably different than us actually broadcasting it over the air.
Okay.
Over the air.
I think so, yeah. What about a disclaimer? Please use the Kingston and Taxpayers Association, not the town of Kingston.
Well,
The video
it's just information, it's really
Yeah.
not,
yeah, I mean,
forming opinions, right?
yeah, I think Phil's seen it, right? Yeah. Don, you've seen it? Yeah. I mean, it's real simple stuff. It's, you know, what's the difference between a, S2,
SB2 town and
SB2
one that
and-
isn't an SB2
right.
town, yeah,
and what's a deliberative session?
okay.
What's the two voting sessions? How are budgets formulated in the town, the process, and the voting.
Okay. What was the request on?
The other thing was the length of time. It would stay on there. We didn't address that specifically in the policy. In the form, it says the town reserves the right to post and remove any and all information as it sees fit. And I think we did talk about keeping things for 30 days or something, but it would depend on the
In
item.
Newton, it's been running for 3 years.
I think the idea
certainly
was that
starve
if
for
we had.
content on that channel.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main concern was precedent, right? How,
We just wanna have the right to limit things if it's getting too much stuff, or, you know, if it's a lengthy thing, that we wouldn't have.
Yeah, the longest one is 6 minutes.
okay. I guess there was just some question on, the rights of the town.
Well, I think you have the right to remove it anytime you want, don't you?
Clarification on, that it's a government channel. Kingston has the right to set policies and limit content to what is pertinent information for town residents. We also have the right to limit the length of time that may need to be added to the policy. And that the board can decide how long something is run for. Okay. Did you have in here a time period that you were hoping for it to run?
Yeah, we'd like it to run starting in January. You've got the public here, I don't know when your public hearing is, but you have public hearing coming up. Then the deliberative will be in February, and then you have voting in March, so it should run at least those 3 months, because that's what it's about. And if it could start before that, that would be even better. And then you want to take it off in April, if you think you need to do that, that's fine, or leave it up, whatever you feel you want to do. We can always resend them.
Does the board have any questions? Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the request for placement on the cable bulletin board as submitted from the Newton Kingston Taxpayers Association.
Second.
And you want to put a timeline on it?
I think that's fair.
What's that?
I think that's February, March. I think that's fair, yeah.
I think through the end of the election cycle of March.
Okay, somebody second that? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
So what do you want to do about the tag at the end there?
Yeah, I think if you could just change that page to want any more information and give your website.
Okay.
You know, or interested in being a member even, but I think just leave the money off.
Okay, just take out the money. Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want it perceived as a solicitation.
I have membership forms if you guys are interested.
Okay. Just give a couple to Susan.
Yep, okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Alright, I'll put that on there. Is Tammy still here?
Probably not, only after, what do you got? Oh, that, well, I don't know, yeah, should have gone down and asked her before. I don't think there's a big rush, if you wanna hold off.
Okay, I didn't know if there was, I guess my question would be, number one, is she interested in having us enter into this contract? And number two, is the cost the same as it was last year? And if not, what are the differences?
Okay. I know she would like she'd like to enter into it, it's something that she's done right along.
Let me see if she's still downstairs.
We authorized, on the lighting for Unitil to release our information so that company can take a look at it.
Still downstairs, or did you leave? Hold on. So, I wanna know about that,
Total notice.
the notice,
Total,
total notice.
is she Tammy, are you recommending that we enter into this contract?
It's the contract that you sign every year.
Okay, so,
They do the gleaning and deeding research.
yeah, you're satisfied with, you recommend we enter into it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're very good.
And-
Yep.
And the prices, are they the same as last year?
Same as last year.
Okay. All right, that's all I had,
Okay.
thanks.
Thank,
Okay.
thank you, Mrs. Bakey.
Chief Briggs.
Have a good one.
Hey, just so you know,
Was it on the manifest or something?
You were the one, oh my goodness. That was you?
Yes.
Okay, does,
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
in the system, I haven't checked it out.
Is
All
any-
right, Mrs. Baker, have a good one. Yep, bye-bye. I didn't know that was her.
you know what?
What?
The ambulance came here.
Oh, yeah, she cut her hand today.
Does the board want to authorize me to enter into this contract? It's
Yes.
for the tax,
Yes,
the tax collector deeding services.
yes.
Rich? Yes. Bill?
Yes.
I never looked at them, they just come from Sydney. Is there something way on top?
Well, I took the elastic off.
Are these flipped like the front page? See that front? I think it's time for all of those together,
Okay.
I did speak to her on this issue.
but you can look at them if you want, that's why they're all there.
No, I spoke to him.
I think we had approved the request for, REDC to use the town hall.
Yes, and she just wants to change the date, and there's no one else using the town hall on that date, it's a daytime on a Wednesday, I think.
Okay,
So I just brought it back for initials, cause you already looked it over once.
okay, does anybody have, any objection to that?
I have none.
Okay. Okay, we got another request for,
That one's different, it is after the timeline, it's after the timeframe, where usually you would not. I told him I'd bring it to you, but basically what the resident is saying is that he didn't receive his bill. There's no way to prove what happened to it, it was not returned to the town clerk's office, she checked any return bills, it wasn't among those, so we're not sure what happened, but, he's saying he didn't know they were due yet, he hadn't received a bill, and when he came in to check on it, he realized, so he paid it, but he didn't get his discount.
The dog ate my tax bill, that's why I was late. Do I still get the discount?
well, we discuss it every year. We discuss it every year, and, what do you wanna do?
It's clear in the warrant article, we cannot retroactively after the date, regardless of the circumstance.
I'll agree.
Okay,
Yeah, there is a warrant article
We can't violate that.
by vote of the town.
new business?
I don't have any.
All right, we, on this, litigation, evidently an appeal has been filed for that,
Across the street?
Cross Street.
Yes,
Another one?
yes.
Okay,
That's just there for your information from the CIP.
if anybody's interested in taking a look at the CIP, program, it's here.
Any big changes in it?
Nothing
Earth-shattering.
surprising.
And there was one more thing in there, that didn't make it to all your lists, but, someone called this afternoon about trees, dangerous trees on a piece of town property, it should be the last thing in this.
I got a note here.
Yeah, I think I put it in this.
I think that's we haven't heard anything more on that piece of property on Great Pond where they wanted to, it was the town's parcel and they had a parcel on either side of it.
I haven't heard
And I
anything.
think it was the neighbor to that was talking about the trees.
Yeah.
But the parcel, I don't think that's the town's parcel that trees are on.
I don't
I
think it
think
is.
this is a different one.
Yeah, this is,
Have you got it in here?
corner of Fifth Street and Great Pond. I can go over and take a look at it tomorrow.
Remove dead and dangerous trees from town property off Great Pond. You wanna take a look at it?
Sure.
So you don't think that, you think this is a different one?
It is different.
Okay.
It's a different location.
We didn't hear any more on that piece of property. did we?
Nothing.
No.
As far as I know.
Nothing, no.
So we did the site walk and there's considerable issues there, so
We haven't heard anything.
the
since.
last I heard, talking to their engineer, there was issues they were trying to work out and also trying to work with Camp Lincoln behind them to get the drainage that was necessary.
Okay. Committee liaison reports? Any updates?
From the Heritage, they are interested in using the, what was the fund called? The transportation fee that I talked about briefly last week that was set up. You guys thought New Boston Road stoplight. But basically, the fund says that it could be spent by the selectmen. The remainder money of about $20,000.
I mean, that's what it was originally.
It originally was at.
But it was changed.
Then it was changed at a later date.
And the bottom line, I mean, how it looks is that Chief Briggs, Dennis, Rich, probably Ernie and I are gonna get together, look at what they're talking about and see if the power to, whatever they were called, what were you guys called?
Powers to be?
Powers to be. There was another name, but to see if they think this is something they would be interested in before we decide whether or not it's something we encourage them to go after, because they want to use that 20,000 for the engineering fees. And then it would be an 80-20 grant match to do the planes. So it's still in limbo until we do a little pre-meeting to see if Chief and Rich and Dennis think it's a viable option.
Okay, so,
Future consideration.
future consideration.
We had our first meeting for the inspectors meeting we focused more on the procedures for getting a permit. Basically, the main thing to come out of that was Tori now has the authority to not issue a permit, because it's an application. There's no guarantee you're gonna get the permit that day, and especially if it's a complicated thing, if it's a standard thing that you've seen 100 times, it's not a problem, but there's some specifically mechanical things that are a little more complicated than just someone pulling a permit for a roof or something, so the homework from it was just trying to get what other towns are doing for a procedure for the same thing, and also try and incorporate that in. We're holding off on the fees and things like that until we have a good procedure in place, because if it's gonna require more inspections or something, we wanna make sure that the on-call inspectors are being compensated for their time, to come out multiple times to look at something. But also, if even the full-time guys, the building, health, etc., the fire department, they have to go out multiple times to witness something, look at something. We wanna make sure that that's all tied in with the fees, but that's starting with the procedure. Another thing that came up was like generators, maybe we get a template for a generator, but we're at the beginning of it, but I think there were some good conversations that took place, and we'll be doing that every other week, so we'll be going back to just the standard issues and enforcement issue things every other week, but moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? How about a motion on the minutes?
Make a motion, we accept both the public and non-public minutes of December 9th, 2019.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as written for December 9th, both public and non-public, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Okay. I think that's everything.
There's something in there I asked Cindy about that you had the authority to expend the
Infrastructure fund?
Yep, so that's what she dug up for, just so you know, if you wanted to use the interest like you were talking about, that you could do that with a public hearing. I think that was the question that came up last time.
So, and refresh me if I'm remembering this correctly, based on the bond rates that we were seeing, it wasn't really economically a good idea to use that interest stuff, was it?
Well, I haven't had an update from the trustees of the trust fund on what the fund is generating at this point. I know you deal with them, have they said anything to you about that? Or?
No, I can find out though.
Okay, but it did seem relatively low, the cost of the bond. I think the idea is they're trying to take the sting out of it for the benefit of, at least the perceived benefit to the taxpayer. But you're right, I mean, if your money's earning more than the cost of money, it doesn't really make that much sense to do it.
Right.
And I guess that would be a caveat that the board has the ability to decide whether or not to take that money, apply that money, and I would assume that would go into the thought process. If we're borrowing money for less money than we're earning, why would you want to do that?
Right.
And I think we need to see a total dollar sign before we
Oh, yeah, definitely.
cross that road. And we've heard some pretty wide ranges of dollars.
Well, there is an article in here if anybody wanted to see it. The article that passed.
Yeah, I read it. We got a copy too.
2011. Oh yeah, here's the Peter Bragg, 47 Great Pond.
That's it, yeah.
That's a map.
Yep.
So he owns which lot?
The yellow.
The yellow is the town lot, the one right in front of it on Great Pond Road, it's in I think lot 173.
173, the one on the corner of 6th.
Yeah,
Great
that's right.
Pond.
173, right.
And he said those trees are in danger of falling on his neighbor's house, which I think it must be the one that runs just alongside.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does anybody got anything else?
I had one more question. I've got to find out, this question came up today too. Veterans Club is looking for a list of veterans. I don't know if we are allowed to run a list from our assessing files for those people that are getting veterans credit, or if that would be, I guess, some sort of privacy rules. I can find out, but I don't know how you felt about that, or if you had any. They're also looking for graves of veterans. They've got all these things going on, but last thing.
I wanna say, I lived in Fremont and I ended up, once I got my tax credit, I ended up getting like
On everybody's list?
tons of mailings from the VFW and the American Legion soon thereafter, so.
You'd rather not, or you think?
Well, no, I think it's.
It's legal.
That they do give it out?
Yeah, I think whether it's legal or not, I couldn't say, but they definitely give out the information.
Maybe you can get a clarification on that.
Okay, yeah, I'll call one of the NHMA lawyers or somebody, because it's easy enough for us to produce a list, but I'm sure that we should, so I'll find out.
Does anybody have an objection to that?
I don't.
So give out the information, as long as we're not prohibited. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I make a motion, we adjourn at,
You wanna go in non-public?
What's that?
Nothing.
We all set? Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn at 8:40, a new record for Chairman Heights.
What's different?
We started at 5. 6.
I'll second that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for watching, have a good night.